All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Thursday, August 15th. We have a little 7-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, if you do want to fade me, all of those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, we bounced back a little bit after a horrific Tuesday night, right? So Wednesday, we go 4-1. The Royals' first 5 money line, that cashes. The Diamondbacks team total, they doubled that one up. The Royals' first 5 team total, we took kind of a swing for that, 0.5 units for plus 125. The Red Sox team total cashes, and then the Astros go to extras and cash as well. So we will take that. That's a nice little bounce back night from a dustpan night 2 nights ago. So let's keep that momentum going today. Unfortunately, a ride of the day does get the womp coming in from Puffy here. Astros money line, Astros Tampa nerfy, and then Ohtani over 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. It's crazy to think that Ohtani is the one that sells this. He has, I think, a couple strikeouts. He gets on base, steals a couple bases, scores 1 run, but ultimately that is all he can come through for us. But I liked the look. This is a plus nearly 500 same game parlay X. So shout out to Puffy for this one and the good pick there, even though one of them comes up shy. But you know what? That's sports betting for us. So shout out to Puffy. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it is simple. All you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments with your favorite play today. Whichever comment gets the most likes, I'm going to be jumping on board with and giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your picks until the wheels fall off. If you lose, you do have to face the music, got to face the womp, and we got to talk about it. But shout out again to Puffy in this one. Make sure you guys get those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. All right, guys, let's jump into this slate. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. Football's right around the corner. We do have a few things to talk about, actually, before we get into these games. We have our Survivor contest coming out. I believe it's going to be potentially 2 different contests, a $10 entry fee, and then we might do more of like a premium high entry fee cost one. More details to come on that. Very, very excited about it. And me and Tassos recorded our futures bets head-to-head show that we do every single week of the NFL season, so stay tuned for that. I know we have a lot of new subscribers from the NFL season until now, right? From last year's NFL season. So you guys are in for a treat. We have tons of NFL content coming your way this season. But all right, enough rambling. Let's go. Let's jump into it. We're starting off with Detroit taking on Seattle here in this one. Fado is starting for Detroit. Looks like Kenta Maeda is going to be the primary pitcher, so keep that in mind. They're both righties. Bryce Miller is getting the start here for Seattle, who he hasn't really been all that great on the road this season, but his last 2 road starts have been decent, all right? I mean, his second most recent road start, I believe that was against San Diego, was very good. But this has been kind of an interesting series so far. I think Seattle, as of right now, is the better team. I mean, records would say that as well. They're kind of inverse records, but we've seen Detroit take game 1 15-1, and they took game 2 3-2, in which, the late innings is what ended up winning that one for them. They scored 2 in the 8th and then 1 in extra. So Detroit kind of wants this. I will say this is the type of spot where I feel like Seattle bounces back and gets to Fado and Maeda. Not necessarily in a huge way. Like, they're not going to go out there and score 6 runs, but Bryce Miller should be able to hold this Detroit offense down, just like Brian Wu did. And I'm hoping that we don't see a Seattle, bullpen blow up like we did yesterday. So I'm going to lean towards Seattle. I don't love the odds in this one, minus 140, but I do think that this is like not a must win, but avoid the sweep type of a win for them. So I don't mind taking a peek at them there, though. That price tag makes it a little bit tougher than I would like. In terms of what these guys have coming up next, Seattle's going over to over to Pittsburgh right away tomorrow, and then I believe Detroit has the Yankees on deck. So they may be kind of looking ahead and a little worried about that one. So Seattle could slide in with a win here. But in terms of a total, I'd still lean towards the under. Like I said, even though I think Seattle could get to Fado, could get to Maeda, I don't necessarily love them to score a bunch of runs. They're still 22nd in the last 30 days when it comes to average. They strike out a ton, but their power numbers are actually getting a lot better. 8th in WRC plus, so creating runs, right? And then OPS is 12th, ISO power is 6th, and then slugging is 14th. So they're kind of right in the midst there, being able to put up a few runs. So give me like a 4-3 game, a 5-3 game at maximum. So slightly lean towards the under, as well as Seattle on the money line. All right, we got the Mets taking on Oakland, and that's kind of what I expected yesterday out of the Mets, right? They scored 9, they win 9-1, so both of these games have been absolutely lopsided in this series so far. Joey Estes, or excuse me, that's who went yesterday. Mitch Spence on the mound today for the Athletics against Jose Quintana. I don't think either one of these offenses is going to be superb today, so it's kind of scary taking two meh pitchers, but I don't mind like a low-scoring game in this one. I think I immediately look at the under. Again, both of these teams have had their like high-scoring game this series while the other one kind of sat down and let them go and do that. I don't think that we have another situation like that. I think both of these teams come back down to earth, or slash, if you're the A's, stay at earth. So I like this one to be a low-scoring game, but it is a little bit worrisome saying that, knowing Mitch Spence is on the mound, who he's kind of had his ups and downs, and same thing with Quintana, right? But overall, you look at these sort of spots here, Quintana's going to throw a ton of sinkers. Oakland's been a really good offense last 30 days against lefties, but against the sinker, just 27th in runs above average. So we like to see that. We're going to get a lot of sliders and a lot of sinkers out of Mitch Spence as well, and the Mets don't hit those pitches all that tremendously. So you have two pitchers here that, though I'm not trying to crown them king or anything, their pitch mixes do match fairly well for them to have decent days against one another. So I lean towards the under. If you were to ask me who's going to win this game, I think the odds are making it quite obvious, but I think it's a little bit more 50-50 than that. So I think for plus 170, plus 165, whatever you could get it at, there could be room for some sprinkle on Oakland's offense here. Maybe them to win this one. Again, plus 160, plus 170. I think this is probably more in like the range of they should be plus 120. So if I think you're getting like, 40 cents of value, then that's be the side. But I don't know if I have the cojones to get there today. I definitely like the under more than anything, but we'll see. All right, Milwaukee taking on the Dodgers. Our graphic wasn't updated by the time we got it in. Right now, I believe we're looking at plus 125 for Milwaukee on the home money line. I know we have an X there as a placeholder. Total sitting at 8 here. On the mound for Milwaukee is going to be Tobias Myers going up against Jack Flaherty. This is just another spot where I think that it's worth taking the Dodgers. Yesterday, I said that, and did that work out? No, that went down into the late innings of that game, and Milwaukee wins 5-4, right? But today you have Jack Flaherty on the mound, who I still think is one of, even though he's finally getting his flowers, I think he's still super, super underrated. He has one good start, one really good start, and one bad start here as the Dodgers. But the one thing I like to see is that Tobias Myers has been, and it's going to sound kind of crazy, but it's a spot in which I like. Tobias Myers has been so crazily good. He has a .8 ERA over his last 5 starts. But if you look at who he's gone up against, Pittsburgh, he's gone up against Chicago, Miami, Washington, Cincinnati. It's like he hasn't faced an offense like the Dodgers, who are starting to get a little bit more healthy here as well, right? He hasn't faced an offense like that in a while. So I think this is a good spot where we're getting actually some decent value to back Jack Flaherty at minus 140 here, and a Dodgers offense that probably wants to get back into the win column and close out this series, right? So because Tobias Myers has been so good, and I'm giving him those flowers, I'm expecting a little bit of regression out of him today. Overall, and you look at them, the Dodgers against righties here in the last 30 days, 8th in OPS, 4th in ISO, 7th in slugging. If Tobias Myers lets anything kind of hang or anything like that, we could have some big innings out of the Dodgers. And then Milwaukee's bullpen's really good, right? But the Dodgers bullpen also is pretty good. So you have two equal bullpens. I think you have a starting advantage with the Dodgers here in Jack Flaherty. And though Milwaukee's offense has been kind of cruising in the last couple weeks here, I still think you have a more consistent offense with the Dodgers. So for minus 140, I like the Dodgers in this spot. The total sitting at 8. I want to go out there and say Jack Flaherty's going to go shut down Milwaukee, but again, I don't think that that's why I'm betting on this. I'm betting on some Tobias Myers, regression. So I'm going to lean slightly towards the over here at 8. I could see a 5-4 game, or even like a 4-4 game that goes into extras, something like that. All right, San Fran taking on Atlanta. Atlanta has been the move so far in this series, and today we have Max Fried on the mound going up against Logan Webb. Now, I'm sure there's a pretty easy way of getting to the San Francisco Giants in this one. They want to avoid getting or losing this series, being swept in this series, and they probably, I would say, have a pitching advantage, but there's a decent amount of sample size between both of these two guys against the opposing team. Max Fried, 76 plate appearances against, he has a K rate of 36%, an average against, so a batting average against of 152, a WOBA of 248, a slugging of just 313, and an expected WOBA of 273, and you you could say, oh, well, that batting average against is super low, right? Well, his expected batting average against is only 178 as well. So this is a good spot for him, apparently based on his past 76 plate appearances against the current guys on this team. And then Logan Webb actually has 144 plate appearances against current guys on this Braves roster. 270 expected batting average, a WOBA of 294, but an expected WOBA that jumps 30 points to 324. So to me, this could be a spot to look at another plus money for the Braves. You know, they won yesterday. It was like $1 million to 2, and they were plus 120 underdogs. So maybe that's another spot today. The one thing that I will say is this would be a four-game sweep. I think I might have said 3 earlier. At least I was thinking it. This would be a 4-game sweep if Atlanta pulls it out. That seems a little unlikely. So I like this game in a vacuum. You throw the context of the sweep there, it kind of makes me a little bit less excited about it. But I'm going to trust Max Fried in this one. Trust the Braves offense that maybe they're starting to get going based on yesterday's game, and lean towards the Braves, as well as I would say I want to take the over here just because that number is so low. But to me, I might just go Braves team total over, and it kind of correlates. I think the Giants are going to have trouble getting to Fried today. So maybe this is a spot in which we can go Giants team total under, and it's a little bit safer there because, again, I don't think either one of these offenses are crazy good, but Atlanta did just score double-digit runs, and then that would lead to an over, right? But I like the spot for Max against San Francisco. So between a rock and a hard place here, maybe we'd either look at, again, Atlanta team total over, or get a little dicey and get a little saucy here with the San Francisco team total under. That could be in the cards. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. I feel like I want to get something in this game, but is that ever the move for us sports bettors? Like, we like a game, we're like, we got to get something in there. We got to follow the value, and maybe I'm forcing something here, but keep an eye on the pinned comment. All right, Baltimore taking on Boston. That Boston game went pretty much according to plan, like I said yesterday. I liked the over. I liked the team total over. I liked the Red Sox to win, but I would never bet it, and look what happens, right? We played it perfectly. They end up losing that one in extras, so I'm glad we just went with the team total over. Today, they're fairly big underdogs here, and, Zach Eflin on the mound for the Orioles, taking on Nick Pivetta. I understand why these odds are where they are. You have the Red Sox just coming off of an extra innings game, coming into a divisional rival game here against Baltimore. Red Sox shooting for that wild card spot. Baltimore trying to get back into the lead of the AL East, right? So a lot of implications here. Hear thee. But I do think that Baltimore's probably the side in this one. I just can't get behind the spot for Boston, you know what I mean? Pivetta on the mound, I don't necessarily mind him, but when you think about it, this team has gone to extra innings multiple times recently. I think 2 of their last 3 games, right? So 2 of those Texas games, and now they're traveling to Baltimore to face a rival that's just waiting for them right there, coming off of a win yesterday. So, yeah, I don't mind Baltimore in this spot. Minus 135 odds. Sure, you can say that could be a little bit expensive for a team that's, been, I guess, arguably just as good offensively as the Red Sox as of late. Baltimore's supposed to be this really good offense, but the Red Sox are right there with them. But overall, I just don't think this is a spot to fade Baltimore. Do I get to the window and bet them? Not necessarily sure, because this Red Sox team, even though they lost last night, they scored 1 million runs, and they've been scoring 1 million runs, and we've seen some dud of the games from Baltimore, right? But against right-handed pitchers last 30 days, they're going up against Nick Pivetta today. They're pretty much greened out. If we jump into the dashboard here, which if you guys want access to this dashboard, just become a channel member here right on YouTube, $2.99 a month. That is it. Link in the description. There's also should be a join button somewhere on YouTube. But if you look at this, this is what I'm worried about, betting Orioles, right? That the Red Sox have been so good offensively against righties. But honestly, you look at Baltimore and it's like they've been just as good, if not maybe even more consistent against righties at home, So I don't mind this spot for Baltimore. In terms of the total, I think the easy spot would be, over 2 good offenses like I just showed, right? But there's something that also seems that I'm sniffing out, that the Red Sox could come in here and have a tough time after, having a pretty exhausting series against Texas. So I think that I stay away from the over. I'm not necessarily saying that I'm jumping full-fledged into an under, because, again, we just saw the greened out boxes for the offense in our dashboard. But I don't think that this over is as simple as it seems. We've seen, the Red Sox have totals of 9.5, 10, 10.5, and now they come to Baltimore, and this thing's dropped, I guess from the highest number, 2 runs. So I don't necessarily love the idea of taking an over because it seems so easy. I think I stick away from this, and that's almost like taking the under, but I think it's kind of silly to take the under as well. So probably just a stick away, and that is like a net win in my mind. All right, we got Zach Wheeler and the Phillies taking on Mitchell Parker and the Nats here. The Phillies going up against a lefty. Not a bad time to roll with them, even though their offense has been struggling as of late. That is predominantly against righties. Mitchell Parker is a lefty here, but even still, Philadelphia gets the shot at Cabrera yesterday. They scored 9 runs. That was a team total that I said in the video that I almost wanted to play. Even though Cabrera's a righty, he threw a ton of changeups, and he only went 4 innings, right? So hopefully Philadelphia, because I do like that team, is kind of on the right track here. I think I said a couple months ago that was probably my World Series team. In this spot here in this game, minus 285, I think we're talking a little bit too much juice, to be honest. Even their minus 1.5 years, minus 130, for their run line. So not exactly something that is enticing me overall. I could potentially get behind, minus 160. That's still super, super juiced for their first 5 run line. Probably not going to be something that I like there either. But if you do want to kind of say, hey, go out there and just score a bunch of runs, they haven't done it much as of late. You could look at their team total in the first 5, again, going up against lefty and Mitchell Parker. Over 2.5 is minus 120. For the full game, their team total is kind of juiced here. Actually, it's actually gotten a little bit better since I first looked this morning. So over 4.5 or minus 135, that could be a consideration for me. And that's a way that we kind of bet Philadelphia without having to pay that minus 285 juice, right? Because I think if Philadelphia wins this game, they score 5 runs just due to the fact that they're going up against a lefty. So now that we look at it, now that that number's got a little bit better, I think it was like minus 155 earlier. I think that could be a spot in which we consider. So Philadelphia team total is probably the way that we would go if we were to bet this one. The total sitting at 8.5. I don't think, it's worth considering Washington to score a bunch of runs. It's freaking Zach Wheeler on the mound, you know what I mean? Like, dude's an absolute stud. So, and he throws a ton of fastballs. Washington, sometimes good, sometimes bad against fastballs. Not exactly the spot you want to be in, because if you're sometimes good and sometimes bad, and you have one of the better pitchers in the league throwing that fastball, I would err on the side of maybe you're going to get a sometimes bad today. So yeah, I don't really want Washington to have to carry their weight in this total. I think the way we play it, I already said it a couple times now, would be Philadelphia team total over, and then it doesn't matter if Washington scores 1,000,000 runs or if they score 1 run, right? We're just focused on one team, removing the variable of Washington. So that's probably how I'd look at this one. And in fact, the fact that we're looking at minus 130, minus 135 for that over 4.5, it's a little bit more enticing than it was just an hour ago or an hour and a half ago. We are flying through this video. I know it's a smaller slate, but I feel like we are flying. Maybe I'm talking a mile a minute because I'm geeked up after a 4-1 night last night. But yeah, comment flying if you made it this far into the video, because I feel like we are going at high speed right now, high speed race. But all right, let's move on to the last game of the slate. I think this could be a good series. We have the Rangers taking on the Twins. Bailey Ober on the mound for the Twins, taking on Cody Bradford for the Rangers. I would say Bailey Ober is the better pitcher, though Cody Bradford had some decent numbers this season, but overall I think that the Twins offense, there should be no real question if they're better or not. Now they do struggle against lefties, so for instance, if we look into the dashboard here, right, it's like, whoa, these offenses look pretty damn similar, but at the same time we should give a little bit of credit to the overall offenses, for the not against lefties, not against righties, not against that split, right? Like, look at this. Yes, Texas struggles, and yes, looks like the Twins are right there on par with them, especially on the road against lefties, but there's such a good offense against righties that some of that can spill over if the bullpen comes in and throws a righty arm or something like that. So the fact that we see that discrepancy makes me a little bit more confident in a Twins spot here, especially at the price we're getting it at. Like, Twins for minus 115 seems like it could be almost an easy spot for me in a sense. So I expect that to be a real strong contender for a final play. Like, they had a bad game, was it yesterday? Yeah, against Kansas City, right? We were on the right side of that one. We like Kansas City. But prior to that, 8 runs scored, 13 runs scored. Now, they were at home. They're heading into Texas now. But even still, like, I think that we could see some high runs. If the Yankees were able to score, what was it, against Texas, 9 and then 7 runs, and then the Red Sox scored, 4, 5, 9. No, they were 5, 9, 7, right? The Red Sox. So it's like, I expect them to be able to go in there and be able to do kind of what the Red Sox did as well, even though we have a lefty today. So give me the Minnesota on the money line here. In terms of a total, I like the Texas team total under. I think this could be a 4-3 game, but again, I'm kind of hoping that Minnesota's offense does okay, so I don't really want to take the full game under, but I think that Bailey Ober can go in there and pitch pretty well, and then that Minnesota bullpen, I like their odds against this Texas team as well. This Texas team, I talked about it with Boston. This Texas team was in the exact same situation, and now, yes, they're at home, but they had to travel home, and they had 2 out of their last 3 games be extra inning games. They could be a little tired, so I don't expect them to be running the bases at a high clip, right? So give me Minnesota as well as the Texas team total under. We'll see what we can get that up at for good odds. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. I know we flew through it. Happy to have a 4-1 night. But like I tell you guys, we have been crushing this season. But I would never want to like stake my claim on being the best sports bettor in the world. I want to make videos about me sports betting and hope that we're right more often than we're wrong. I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, that's not the point. It's all about making money. It's like, sure, that at the end of the day, you want to do that. But I truly believe that sports betting is about the entertainment of it. And me, going 0-4 2 nights ago and then 4-1 and gaining all that back. And, last night is exhilarating. Like, that's the whole point of it, as long as you're within your means and not doing anything crazy. So hope you guys appreciate it. I don't know if we're going to go 50-50 for the next month and all that. We've had such a crazy MLB season. We could be, getting hot again. We could be in a cold, and that was just an anomaly. Who knows? I don't even know what I'm ranting about at this point. I just want you guys to know that I appreciate everyone that tunes in, and we'll have our hot nights, we'll have our cold nights, but that literally is sports betting. So hopefully you guys are tuning in for that aspect of it and not assuming that, I'm going to do what I did in July, which was a 75% hit rate. That was crazy. I don't expect to do that again, but you know what? Wouldn't be mad if it happened. But all right, guys, that's it for me. I won't ramble. At least this one wasn't one that made me want to cry about how touching everything is, right? I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.